As we move towards the warmer months here in the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of people are really curious about safe sun exposure. Is there such a thing? And if so, can I talk about it? So that's what I'm going to do today here on the Evolving Wellness Podcast is talk about safe sun exposure. So hi everyone, Sarah here. Just a quick little reminder to let you know I have created a free PDF for you to download as a companion to this video or audio only podcast, whichever one you're listening to, that will give you some of the studies I talk about in this particular episode, as well as just a quick little guide to safe sun exposure. So check that out in the pinned comment or in the show notes if you're interested in downloading that free PDF. And I'm also offering just from today until Memorial Day only, 50% off of my Metabolism Makeover Masterclass, which will teach you how to use circadian biology and quantum biology, sunlight, to increase your metabolism. Things that are not commonly talked about when it comes to supporting yourself, supporting your health, and using the natural things we have around us to do that. So that will also be down in the show notes or the pinned comment if you are on YouTube. I hope you enjoy these and enjoy this episode. So thank you so much for being here. Just a quick little note. This is not medical advice, and it is not a substitute for working one-on-one with a qualified practitioner. And if you are a fan of the show and enjoy this type of content, if you're listening over on Spotify or Apple, please head on over and leave the show up to a 5-star review. If you are watching on YouTube, give the show a like, leave us a comment, and it will help to get the show out to more people. And let's talk about this. So there are some people that say there is no safe sun exposure at all. And if you're going to be outside, wear a hat, wear sunblock, and just avoid it at all costs. There's another group of people that say you can go out in the sun for 10 hours a day, 6 hours a day, whatever. Don't wear sunscreen, go out in full sun, and it's totally safe and it's totally fine. I disagree with both sides. I don't like extremes. I like to talk in nuance. I could probably have a much bigger following if I talked in these absolutes, but I've learned the hard way that there's always some nuance for everything, for every situation. That's, again, why it's always important to get a second set of eyes on things, talk through things, and work one-on-one with someone if you really want to get to the bottom of things. So let's talk about sun exposure. Now, to say that there's no safe sun exposure at all, I'm going to disagree with that for a few reasons. There are actually, and I think it's important as a consumer of information on the internet to understand how to do your own research. You can take what I say and say, oh, that sounds really good, but fact check me, research it. Go to PubMed, type in things like they've taken down some studies now. I think they took down one study, and one of my listeners was kind enough to send it to me about indoor workers actually having a higher incidence of melanoma than outdoor workers, right? So there's that information. There's also a really big study that was done that showed a shorter lifespan and a higher incidence rate of disease in people who had less sun exposure. There's a lot of really interesting information. And when you look at the studies that have been done on sun and how dangerous UV light in particular is, a lot of it was done on narrow band UV lamps. That's why I'm very cautious to recommend that people go out and get Sperity vitamin D sun lamps. I have one, but I haven't really used it in a couple of years. You got to be really careful with those because it's missing red, it's missing near infrared, and there's a whole bunch of other nuance that you need to be mindful of, right? And so we also need to question, just on a common sense level, human beings, we just invented homes and we just came out with LED light bulbs that have no infrared in them at all. And infrared helps to expand the exclusion zone, which is the water surrounding every single cell in your body, as well as mitochondria, inner membrane, outer membrane, helps to move energy across the electron transport chain. Exclusion zone water is crucial, and infrared helps to expand exclusion zone water. Blue light and lights, most indoor light bulbs have no infrared. outside in the sun has tons of infrared, right? Infrared also helps to create subcellular melatonin. So it's like cleaning up little bits of damage that are done during the day. So our modern lives have disconnected us completely from infrared, from red, and we are stuck in these blue lit environments. And rates of melanoma continue to go up when the rates of how long people are spending indoors under artificial LED lights, blue lights with phone screens and computers in their face, that's also going up. And so again, we have to question these things when it comes to our health, and we have to be our own best advocate. So don't be afraid to go to PubMed and type things in like artificial light at night and cancer. Don't be afraid to type in find studies yourself on narrowband UV lamps and UV lights and cancer. And it's really difficult to find anything that was done under full spectrum sunlight on human beings. The data isn't really there. To play, again, devil's advocate and to talk about the people that say, go outside all day, be in the sun all day, it's totally fine. I disagree because of, again, this modern life, the way that we are set up. If your circadian rhythms are off, you're going to put yourself at higher risk for metabolic disorders, skin cancers, melanoma, all of that, because you're not going to make enough melatonin subcellularly during the day in response to infrared, because a lot of people are indoors, period, and they're not getting enough infrared. And then at night, if you're not making enough adequate melatonin, your body, the cells can't turn over. There was actually an interesting study that showed people that ate food too close to bedtime, and that we know this disrupts leptin signaling. We know this disrupts melatonin production because of the impact that insulin has on blocking these hormones from being released, and blocks body temperature from dropping, which is also needed to make enough melatonin. So we have a study that showed that people were less able to recover from a sunburn when they eat too close to bed, which is really interesting, right? This is an interesting thing. You can just type it in on PubMed, pull it up, check me out, fact check me. And so when someone says it's okay, just go outside, you have to talk about are they circadian aligned, right? And then the eyes are getting and the skin are getting signals from being out at sunrise to say, hey, start specific hormonal processes, begin to prepare the skin to receive stronger UV light. So a lot of people wear sunglasses, a lot of people wear contacts and glasses and things like that. That is one of the reasons why I really recommend that people not use those things when you're trying to prep your eyes and skin to receive stronger UV light, because the eyes, again, via the suprachiasmatic nucleus, tell the brain, start these specific hormonal processes. And again, this can help to protect your skin in stronger UV light. So a lot of people are not outside at that time. What a lot of people will do is they'll just go straight outside at 11 o'clock in the morning after being indoors all day. So that's a huge issue. And then UVA light, which is the next window of time after sunrise, it's important to go out then, because we begin to have a lot of hormonal processes that happen because of a huge protein called POMC, and several neuropeptides, neurohormones are produced in response to UV light on the eyes or the skin. These things are crucial, again, to allow the body to accept stronger UVB, which is where we synthesize vitamin D. Now, I have a guide called The Free Guide to Building Your Perfect Quantum Day. That will be down in the show notes. If you don't already have it, it'll kind of walk you through how to know when sunrise happens, when UVA happens, and then even when you get out to UVB, how to know how long to stay out there. Because if you're a Fitzpatrick 1, that's your skin type, you probably only need 10, 15 minutes out there initially. And spending more time out there, you could possibly burn your skin and overexpose yourself. And you can photo age your skin. You can do that. And honestly, there's a little bit of that comes along with this whole thing. But you have to ask yourself, when you look at the data on sun exposure and health, that is it's a kind of a bit of a trade-off, right? None of us are going to look 25 forever. It'd be nice, but it's just not going to happen. So being in sunlight, it helps to make adequate amount of serotonin, of dopamine, thyroid hormone, sex hormone, subcellular melatonin, again, to clean up damage as you go through the day. So we make melatonin at night and during the day. And then, we have to also, when we look at safe sun exposure, it's not just the daytime, it's also at night. You don't want to be eating after sunset too close to bed because of that study I mentioned earlier. You want to be in darkness. You want to make sure that you are blocking artificial light at night so that you're not telling your body to continue to make cortisol, so that it can actually make adequate melatonin so you can repair, right? So you can heal, so cells can turn over. It's absolutely crucial. When it comes to diet, this is where the dogma needs to kind of go out the window on all sides, where people say things like, processed foods are okay and they're fine and all foods fit. Well, if you want to protect your skin from sun damage, you're going to want to eat unprocessed whole foods. You're going to want to stick to healthy fats. You want lots of DHA, seafood, wild seafood is what I prefer. Things like salmon roe and just wild salmon have astaxanthin in them that can actually be a little bit of a sunscreen for your skin. Things like seed oils have been shown to actually accelerate aging and damage in the skin as well. And so if you're going to be doing the sun exposure thing, I would be a little bit more mindful about what you're eating. I wouldn't be eating after sunset. I wouldn't be eating processed foods. I would be trying to stick to local food, because light uh, tells your food what to do. It tells your food how to grow. And the amount of UV light that's available is what you should be eating, right? During winter, we have to get a little bit more creative in some areas. That's where you look into more cellar stable foods. But on the whole, that's why I don't recommend eating a lot of simple sugar fruits in the middle of winter if you're in a latitude with low UV light, because none of these systems operate alone. And when people have these conversations about the sun and sun exposure, they kind of have them in this vacuum. And that's why I'm like, never going to say yes or no. I want to have a full conversation like this to really let you know all the different things that you need to look for and understand when it comes to sun exposure. Circadian alignment is key. Getting out at sunrise, getting out at UVA to prep the eyes and the skin to get the stronger UVB, which is where we make vitamin D. Only available during certain parts of the year in certain parts of the world. If you're north of where I live, you're not going to have the ability to make vitamin D during the winter. If that doesn't mean you should take it, that's another episode. But you want to really build up those vitamin D stores in the summertime as much as you can. And you want to do this safely using an app like the D Minder app that is in my free guide to building your perfect quantum day, to put in your Fitzpatrick skin type, to know how long you stay out there, and really use that D Minder app and say, okay, it's telling me to turn over. It's telling me to come on out of the sun to seek shade. Listen to that. Don't override that app when you're new to it. Now, I've been doing this for multiple years, so I kind of know when I've had enough, right? When my skin is kind of like, "Ooh, okay, it's time to go inside." I have not been sunburned since I've been doing this, because I know how to tell it's been too long, right? And so when it comes to safe sun exposure, kind of checking off all of these boxes. A lot of people ask me if I wear sunscreen on my face or my chest. I personally don't. It's a decision I personally make. A lot of people like the zinc oxide, because the issue with a lot of sunscreen is they have oxybenzone and a lot of chemicals that have been actually shown to cause cancer and create damage in the skin. I just wear a hat. I'll wear a hat for shade. I also don't wear sunglasses, because the signal coming in through your eyes is what your skin is going to do. Just to put this very simply, eyes tell the brain, tells the skin, oh, yeah, it's really bright out here. Sunglasses, it's kind of dark. I don't really know what to do. I'm a little confused. Common sense, though. If you're on water, if you're on sand and you're getting a huge glare in your eyes, protect your eyes, right? Do protect your eyes. But I'm not going to personally go out somewhere and have to have all of my skin exposed if my eyes are also going to have to be covered. I just don't. I think it could be a little dangerous for your skin. So use common sense. If you're driving, there's a huge glare in your eyes, protect your eyes. But on the whole, I don't recommend sunglasses. And I have very light eyes, so it took me a very long time to be okay with not wearing sunglasses. And I spent a lot of time in those healing frequencies of sunrise and sunset. And that's what I think is important to do if you are somebody who can't tolerate strong UV. I have come across a lot of people over the last few years that have a sunlight sensitivity. And when they start getting out into the strong UV light, they can't handle it. They get blisters on the skin. So if that is you, don't try to even use the D-Miter app. Just go more for sunrise and take micro doses, 30 seconds, a minute out on that strong UVB. Uh, the healing red and near infrared in the morning and in the evening is really where you're going to want to hang out. And you can still get benefits of sunlight in the shade when there are green trees and plants around. It was Zimmerman and Russell Ryder that showed when you're in the shade, you can still get infrared exposure, which helps to make that subcellular melatonin and to expand that exclusion zone in the cells of your body. Being in the shade, as long as there's some green plants around, it can bounce off of them and your body can still get it. So people will, I'm in the shade. Being in the shade, you're still going to get great benefits. You're also going to get circadian signaling. You'll know what your body's going to know what time of day it is, what time of year it is. When on the whole, we're mostly inside buildings underneath artificial lights, and our bodies don't really have any idea what time of day, what time of year it is. So all of those things are really crucial when it comes to protecting your eyes, protecting your skin, and making your own informed decisions. None of this is medical advice. None of this is meant to be taken as substitute for working one-on-one with someone. Just to repeat that, you have to do your own research and make your own informed decisions. But I think it's important to really look at all sides of things when it comes to sun exposure. And my opinion on the whole, if I have to take a hard stance, which I don't like taking hard stances, but on the whole, sun exposure and being in the sun is a health promoter, not a health demoter. You just have to be strategic about it and understand the circadian nuances, the signaling of the eyes, the skin, and the brain. So I hope that this episode was helpful. If you have questions or want more access to me, I do have courses where you get some time in my private community where we do Zoom meetings and you can ask questions in the group. That is on my website, www.sarahkleinerwellness.com. Check that out. And you can use the code podcast to save 10% on any of those courses at any time to get into the community and get a little extra chat time with me if that is what you're looking for. So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next show.